Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Oklahoma City Water Utilities Trust. First order of business is to approve the minutes of the June 4th, 2019 meeting of that trust, and I'd recognize a motion to that effect.
Move approval.
Okay. We vote. It's approved. Mr. Browning?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make my comments during the general manager's report.
Oh, you don't want to make any comments now?
No,
okay,
sir.
sorry. We have a number of items on the consent docket. I would suggest that we approve them subject to individual consideration. Is there anybody who would like individual consideration?
Thank you.
Recognize a motion to that effect.
Move the items.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Moved and seconded. We'll vote. Approved. Consent docket is approved. We have two items on the concurrence docket. I would suggest that we vote on both of those together if people have no reason not to.
Move the items.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? We'll vote. Approved. We have an emergency construction contract which needs to be approved by resolution with 4 affirmative votes. The resolution ratifies the actions of the general manager in declaring an emergency, approving bidding documents, awarding emergency contract to Brewer Construction Company, project SC 1042, 54-inch emergency sanitary sewer, Western Avenue north of Covell Road, in the amount of $184,214, ratifying issuance of an emergency work order, approving contract and bonds, ratifying payments and accepting project and placing maintenance bond in effect. Is there a motion for approval?
Move the emergency resolution.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? We'll vote. Approved.
I'd like to make some comments on the next item, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Next item for individual consideration, joint resolution with the City of Oklahoma City authorizing submission of a final proposal upon request from the Defense Logistics Agency for the ownership, operation, maintenance, repair, and recapitalization of water and wastewater facilities at Tinker Air Force Base. And I'll call on Mr. Browning for comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This item is related to the Defense Department instituting a privatization municipalization program for the management of base services, including water, sewer, electric, trash collection, etc., to enable military bases to become more resilient and efficient. On April 2013, the Defense Logistics Agency of the Department of Defense, that's their contracting agency, contacted the Water Trust about taking over the operation of Tinker Air Force Base water and wastewater systems. Subsequent to that, a consulting firm, Stantec Consulting Services, Inc., and Guernsey, a local subcontractor, were selected to assist city staff in performing all services associated with addressing the federal request. Stantec and Guernsey have significant experience in utilities privatization at military installations. The Utilities Department, Municipal Counselor's Office, and our consultant have been ongoing negotiations with DLA to develop a plan to improve the operation and maintenance efficiency and a capital improvement plan to improve the reliability and resiliency of the base water and sewer systems. In addition, a pricing structure has been developed to accommodate the federal government's funding procedures and limitations, and that pricing structure would enable us to operate, maintain, and capitalize the base facilities without subsidy from any of the other utility customers. DLA has informed us to anticipate direction to submit a final services and pricing proposal within the next few weeks. The Trust will have 30 days to respond, so we'll develop that pricing and operations proposal, submit it to DLA within 30 days, and then they will review and make a recommendation to the Air Force. They need to make that recommendation and the award of the contract prior to September 30th of this year, or they will lose the funding for that project. To ensure that we satisfy DLA's timeline, it's requested that the Trust consider this request to enable staff to proceed with submittal of the final proposal. This item was on the council agenda this morning for consideration. It was approved by council We had to double dock it because of the timeline. So at this time, we recommend approval of this item.
Are there any questions? Been moved. Is there a second? Moved and seconded. We'll vote. Approved.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Next item is a presentation on utilities customer service system improvements.
Mr. Chairman, we have 3 items here. Lee Booth will come forward to present on all 3.
Good afternoon. For reference, those items are the HCL item, the SAP licensing item, and the KUBRA statement of work. So what I want to talk to you about is some customer service initiatives that are presented largely in that graphic up there. Basically, we're looking at improving the efficiency of the call center in trying to improve our customer experience across the board. So whether you call us on the phone and talk to us, whether you call us on the phone and use the IVR for self-service options, or whether you use our mobile application or web platform, that you have a good experience with us. So the first area I want to talk about is the call center. As we're currently designed, all of our calls come into one large group and they're uniformly routed to a large group of agents. So what happens many times is we have non-routine calls that require either additional access to other systems or additional skill because our work has gotten very complex, and they can take longer for us to resolve. This can result in a CSR being held up or multiple CSRs being held up and causing other customers to wait. So what we want to do is redesign and establish some skill levels with CSRs so that we can more efficiently route calls, so that our large volume of calls that are fairly quick in nature, a move into a property, a move out of a property, transfer of service, what's my call, what's my trash day, I want a pay plan, so that we can continue to serve those customers faster. And if a customer's issue needs additional attention or they need a call back, we have a way of routing that to someone who can serve them and resolve their issue. We believe that this will ultimately decrease our hold times and our wait times, and that we'll be able to address the majority of our customer issues much more quickly. The second improvement in the call center relates to our quality application. We implemented in 2015 an application that sits in the background of our system, and it records 100% of the audio of our telephone calls, as well as the computer screen captures associated with a smaller number of our calls. We use these calls that are recorded to evaluate agent performance. So over the last 12 months, with our existing resources, we've only been able to evaluate 0.5% of the calls that come into the call center. We've identified this as an area that we really need to improve to get a better understanding of why people are calling us and what our issues are in addressing their issues. So we have redeployed a couple of vacant positions, and with the help of the personnel department have established a new classification. And our goal is now to come closer to a call center standard of 3% of evaluations for the calls that we receive. Again, we use these evaluations to not only coach employee performance, but to identify training gaps, identify opportunities for improvement, identify frustrations with the website, or opportunities that we can better communicate with customers. So we see it as a really beneficial program for our overall improvement. Finally, in the call center, we are proposing changes to our training program. Currently, it takes us about 6 weeks from the time that we hire a CSR until they're trained and able to be released out on the floor. This training is largely conducted in a classroom. Our training materials have not been comprehensively redone since we implemented SAP back in 2009. And working with HCL, our contractor, we are proposing to move further along towards using our computer-based learning tool that we already have and expanding our assessment tools so that we're able to support the skilled level that I talked about, growing the CSRs through, as well as evaluate how our agents retain our material and their proficiency in our system. Another area that we will be improving is our customer portal or website. This is an area where customers have continued to express to see us make improvements and to come more in line with other utilities in the area. One of the main benefits of the program that we'll be implementing is that it is browser and device agnostic. So what that means is whether you're on your PC at home, on a laptop, on an iPad, or on your phone, it will have the same look and feel and services across all of those platforms. An area that customers are particularly interested in that we will be able to respond to now is the ability to enroll in customized electronic notifications. What that means is customers can self-select if they would like to receive email or a text when their bill is generated, when their payment is received, prior to their next trash day. They can establish how they would like us to communicate with them. I included this slide in my discussion. It's an example of the platform that we're moving to. It was for an electric utility, but I want to talk to you about some of the base functionality that will be available that makes this a really good solution for our customers. First off, it's tile-based. I hope you can see that. So there are a number of different squares in the format of that page. Customers are able to select the tiles that they want to see and to size them and to relocate them how they would like for their web experience to be for us. So it provides a customization level that we have not had before. Another item that it does for us is that as a municipal organization, we are required under Title II to be ADA compliant. And this platform has those ADA requirements built into it, and so there's no customization costs for Aquit. That includes things like having text associated with all of your graphics, being able to change the font size, the font color. So again, all of that is base functionality that is included. The contract that you received with HCL Axon will provide the professional services for this, and the additional licenses are covered under that SAP licensing agreement. We'll also need to make some improvements to our telephone system. This will allow us to optimize the menu options when you call in for self-service. We want to make self-service, we want to use industry standard principles to make self-service options available to customers in a logical format. The platform that we have, we've built upon over the years, and again, It just needs to be optimized and to be restructured. Redesigning these IVR selection options will allow us to, again, distribute those calls into the reorganized call center with the skill-based agents. We're also going to pursue an option that we have not pursued before, and that is allowing customers the option to complete a very short post-call survey if they choose to tell us a little bit about their experience with us. We believe that that will help us, again, feed into the continuous improvement strategy that we want. Help us identify issues with training, help us identify issues with systems, help us identify customer frustrations so that we can develop strategies for those. And then finally, the statement of work that you had before you with KUBRA is addressed in this slide. So in addition to printing and mailing our bills, KUBRA is also a payment provider for us. They link to our current website, and they have the stored customer payment preferences. So we want to continue to use them for that service when we move to our new platform. So the statement of work that you have before you allows us to do that, as well as do some things, make some improvements that we know we've needed for a while. And that is to expand real-time payment tracking so that when customers pay, their payments are reflected automatically. We have a couple of gaps in that area that this statement of work will address. And this statement of work will also allow customers the ability to store their credit card information, which we have not made available previously. We believe that expanding all of these options will allow us to more actively pursue a campaign that moves customers toward paperless and more cost-effective billing options in the future.
Are there any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Lee.
It appears that we do not need. Okay. We have items 1, 2, and 3 on this presentation that we just had, and I recognize the motion that they all 3 be approved. Is there a second? Moved and seconded. We'll vote. Approved. Next item is a resolution approving settlement agreement and mutual release with the City of Bethany, the Bethany Public Works Authority, the Oklahoma City Airport Trust, and the City of Oklahoma City, and authorizing Attachment A, new water rights lease, and Attachment B, amended water rights lease, be presented to the Oklahoma City Water Utilities Trust for consideration at a later date for the inclusion of Attachments A and B to the settlement agreement and mutual release.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, the Airport Trust, with the support of the utilities, has been looking at addressing some issues out by Wiley Post Airport for quite some time and trying to assist the City of Bethany with some issues. There was litigation involved, and in a mediation session, they came to an agreement for a solution. They included the Utilities Trust in the solution because it had some groundwater issues to it, even though the Utilities Trust was not an operator in the situation. This particular item is split into 2 pieces. So the resolution approves the base settlement agreement and then foreshadows that groundwater well leases will be presented subsequently to the Water Trust and to the city, which we anticipate will be on the July 16th agenda, to finalize the remaining pieces of the settlement. The City of Bethany has already approved the settlement in concept, and I believe the council saw it this morning. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Or is there a need to move into an executive session? Seeing none, I would ask for a vote to approve.
I move to approve.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded. We'll vote. Approved. Items from trustees. Seeing none. General Manager report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple of things. The pro forma. It's been a really wet year. All the lakes are full, and as a result, we haven't sold as much water this year. Our estimated revenues are down about $6.9 million, but our expenses are also down. So we almost we're almost even in that regard. Expenses are down $6.8 million on water. On the wastewater side, the expenses are as expected, and our wastewater operations. Our revenues are as expected, and our operations costs are down just a bit, a little over $500,000. So it's kind of a wash this year. So we're about even. Hopefully, we'll dry out a bit and start selling more water. We'll see how that goes. Secondly, there's been a lot of discussion this week about the Water Utilities Trust permit with the Putnam City Athletic Association, the operation of their baseball fields. It is not our intent to ask the trust to revoke that permit. Actually, it has expired, but we would like to proceed with a temporary permit to take care of the expired permit. There are a number of items within the permit that the management of the association have not complied with, and we have articulated those in a letter. So what we want to do is provide a temporary permit for 30 days to enable the association management to come up with a corrective action plan and submit that plan to us for review. Once they do that and they comply with the other terms related to providing us with information regarding the operation of the organization and the financials on the organization, we will provide a second temporary permit to enable them to operate for the remainder of the year to get them through the fall program. During that time, they will need to execute the corrective action plan to get them fully compliant with the permit. If they do that, then I will recommend to the trust to enter into another permit for the operation of those ball fields on trust property. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
Any questions?
The terms have been emailed and sent certified to the management of the association.
Seeing no questions, there's also the next item, fiscal year 2019 Oakwood monthly pro forma and status report.
The pro forma is, as I indicated a few minutes ago, the status report. All the lakes are full. Canton is almost 10 feet above full pool. McGee Creek's about a foot above full pool, so we're in good shape regarding water supply. We have plenty of water to sell. It'll dry out. We'll do our best to sell it. With that, that's the end of my report, Mr. Chairman.
Citizens to be heard. Terry Miller.
I think you addressed pretty much what I came here to talk to you about today. Just have a little statement here. First, thank you for your reconsideration of the lease of PCA baseball fields to the association. I've just got a little thing I'd like to read here for you that I had written before you spoke. I don't know if anybody's speaking about it or not. So I'm here concerning the lease of the PCA ball field. I believe this issue about this lease is being resolved between the Oklahoma City Parks and Recreation Department and the manager of Putnam City Athletic Association. We've leased and operated the fields on Britton Road just east of Hefner Parkway for approximately 50 years and provided a very positive experience for many kids on the north side of Oklahoma City. The fields are in great shape, and the infield grass is probably the best in Oklahoma City, thanks to our director, Mark Lovelace's tireless work. I'm here to ask that you as a board give strong consideration keeping this lease with PCAA.
Thank you. Any other citizens to be heard? Seeing none, we're adjourned.